Good evening, everyone. Back again with another short story. I just shared a story about my encounter today, and I thought I'd make another video since I have another 40 minutes to go with this about a story that I shared this Sunday with my church. It's about a missionary named Hudson Taylor. And if you're a person of faith or not a person of faith, it really doesn't matter, because I think a story of people from history can teach us stuff, regardless of whether we believe in their philosophy, their ideology. We can learn from all kinds of people. But Hudson Taylor was a unique person. As I said, he was a missionary to China. And he was born in 1932. So the big part of his life was from around 1950 to 1904 when he died. But Hudson Taylor was a cut of a different cloth. I think a lot of people that lived, we say, of yesteryear in the past, before the early 1900s or before that, there was just a difference in how they viewed life, how they experienced life, and how they tackled tragedy. Today, a lot of people don't handle tragedy very good. In fact, if the internet goes out, or Starbucks doesn't have their coffee, or my goodness, they lose their phone, let that truck go by. Some of the smallest things in life can just cause people to lose it. Hudson Taylor, though, experienced all kinds of tragedies. He, as I said, he grew up in England in 1932. He had a call when he was about 17 years old to go to China. He felt the Lord was calling him to that area, and he said, I have to go. And he started preparing himself. He started learning kind of the biblical languages, Greek and Hebrew. He said he was brushing up on his Latin. I'm not really sure how Latin was going to help him in China. He knew the people spoke Mandarin, and he got himself a copy of the Gospel of Luke. And since he was a believer, he understood Luke in English, and he thought if he could compare the two, somehow he could learn to read Mandarin. And he found some characters that would repeat, and he compared to the characters like "thee" and stuff that was repeated in English. He said, well, this must be what it says, and he was on his way. He started training in the medical area. He said he gave up his feather bed to sleep on kind of a hard mattress, exercised more, he ate less, because he said, if I'm going to China, I'm going to face hardships. I need to prepare myself. And sure enough, by the time he was 21, he was on his way to China. China was a rough country for Westerners. This was not a place that they were necessarily welcomed, kind of like today. And when he got there, he said, what I had learned and what I had done to prepare myself didn't prepare me hardly in the least. He couldn't communicate. He said that figuring out Mandarin versus English, he said that didn't work. He said the hardships, he said the bitter coldness of China in the winter was just almost unbearable. Homesickness had hit him. Lack of food was more than what he thought it was going to be. And he said the only thing he could do, of course, whenever he got there, he said he almost wrecked twice on the way. It was a 6-month journey on the ship. But when he did get there, he said what he didn't prepare for was a war. And he was in Shanghai, and there was a war going on, a civil war. He said every night he could hear the fighting outside, and he said the only thing he could do was put his limited medical experience to practice. He did go interior, and his job was to bring the faith into those areas. And but in the midst of being there in China, he had 8 children. He lost 4 of them. One of them that was 8 years old. A couple of them he lost at birth. Some of them at other different times just because of the harsh circumstances. At the loss of his 8-year-old, or not his 8-year-old, but his last child that was lost at birth, he lost his wife, only 33 years old, 3 days later. He was robbed. All the medical supplies that he had bought burned up in a fire. I mean, this is a person who just had a tenacity. He said, I feel a call, and I'm going to fulfill that call regardless of what I lose. And he would have to go back and forth. He actually ended up going to China, I think, 11 times in his life. He adopted the Chinese way of living, the garb, the fashion. When he went the first time, he would go speaking and working medically and sharing his faith with people. And he wore the traditional kind of 18th century English garb, which is a long black coat, a black hat that earned him the name by all the people who live there, the natives, of the Black Devil. Not sure that's necessarily the name you want to have if you're trying to spread the Christian faith or any faith, but that's what he had. And he said, I have to adopt a different way of life and of living. So he put on exactly what the people that lived there wore. He shaved his head with a high forehead. A lot of us getting older, kind of developed by nature. Let his hair grow out, the ponytail. He said the people that look down on him the most for that. I know today people talk about appropriating cultures, which really there's no such thing. We live in a global society. Everyone's culture goes back to everything in history. I mean, no one can really claim their culture because it's all built on cultures that were before them and the influences of other cultures that they have right now. So the people that were against him were actually the other missionaries. And what they didn't like was not what he was saying, but it was the fact that he wasn't bringing Western culture. And I think one of the greatest misservices that have been done by the church in missions is trying to not just bring the gospel as people believe it, but trying to bring Western culture. That's not what the call was, but he saw beyond that. And I think what anyone can take from Hudson Taylor is that idea of perseverance through hardships. Now, I know there's people who have had a lot worse lives than even what Hudson Taylor experienced. I was talking to a person not too long ago, and I had about an hour conversation with him. And by 5 minutes into it, I thought, oh my goodness, I can't believe the things you went through. And it seemed like every 5 minutes, I thought it can't get worse. And sure enough, the next story was worse than the one before. And after an hour of that, I thought, I can't believe you're still sitting here in front of me. I mean, the things that this person experienced at the hands of family and friends and marriage partner, I thought, my goodness. But Hudson Taylor, he experienced a lot of tragedies. Losing 4 kids, that's not something that a parent should have to do. But all the other tragedies. But I thought, today, you compare ourselves to people that lived back then. I mean, 1800s, you're looking at the westward expansion. You're looking at people in America, the pioneers and what they experienced when they went out into the West to settle. Just hardships, hard lives. And we get upset if it takes us maybe 5 more minutes to get to work. I had a person today who just drove all the way down the side of the road because they had to get to their destination. Forget everyone else, but I've got to get to my destination. I thought everyone has to get to their destination. If you get somewhere, 2 minutes is not really going to affect, where you're going. Unless you're going to a hospital, which you need to have your flashers on, that's what they're for, or you're on the side of the road to let people know your car. But if you got an emergency, then, let people know that you have an emergency. But I don't think most of our lives are filled with that many emergencies. I think we just, in the Western world, we just expect everything to be kind of catered to us. As I said, if we don't have the things that we want, people just crumble. I think just my understanding of Hudson Taylor's life is kind of encourages me to say, hey, sometimes you need some hardships. And when we experience those things, We don't need to lose it. We used to say that life is filled with problems. Life is filled with loss. It's filled with violence. It's filled with disappointment. Things won't always go the way we want. You don't have to live very long before you find out that this world is not necessarily for you. Life goes on, and not everything is going to work the way we want it to, but we just need more endurance. I'm not saying it's fun. I mean, anytime it's hardship, losing a job, I've lost a job before. That was a hard thing to go through. I remember calling my wife and saying, "Are you sitting down?" She said, "Why?" I said, "Well, I got some bad news. I lost my job today. They laid off 33% of the company, and I happen to be part of that. You know, I won the lottery there. I hadn't won the other lottery. I'd like to win the other lottery. I know people who have won it. They say that winning the lottery can ruin your life. I'd like to put that to the test. I think it ruins people's lives if they don't have a center and they don't know how to really, they're not grounded sometimes. That idea of trials, hardships, it's part of all our lives. We just need to learn to deal with them rather than crumbling. I think we'd be better off if we could do that. And we have a little more patience with one another. Knowing that we're all struggling, that's one of the big things. No one's life is perfect. There's always problems. But sometimes we think we're the only people who deal with certain issues. And I know, being a pastor, I can look out over a congregation, I've done this several times, and I can say, people in this congregation, I know that their lives, whether it's a marriage or it's a child issue or it's a job issue or if it's health issues, whatever it may be, addictions that people are going through, everyone is struggling. But everyone seems to present themselves as though nothing's going on, because I think we think we're the only ones going through it. Everyone has problems. Or sometimes a lot of the problems we have are problems we make in our own life. But beyond that, there are things that just land in our lap. And that's not good. But be encouraged. You look at history. History is important. History teaches us what not to do, sometimes what to do. But I think today we've lost the sense of that. Learning from people of the past, learning from history. It was G.K. Chesterton who made the statement, before you take a fence down, you need to figure out why it was put there in the first place. I find a lot of people just want to rip down fences. It's like some fences need to be taken down. Some fences are man's traditions. But there are some things we have that are there for a reason. I think sometimes we find out after the fact is what we did has already been done in history, but we thought we had a brand new idea. And we didn't. I don't think my cigar can actually go out. Can those things go out? There it is. It's back to life. All right. I'm going to sign off. This is my last one for the day. I got a little bit too ambitious here, but just wanted to share that with you. Take care.